Part 2 of ACT Math Test number 2, starting with problem 20. You toss a coin 10 times, you get heads and tails, and they give you the tails, heads, 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 tails, heads, 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 heads that you've gotten so far. And they ask what's the probability you'll get head on the next toss. Well, it doesn't matter what you've gotten in the past. You got a 1 out of 2 chance getting heads, 1 out of 2 chance getting tails. That's it. Probability does not have a memory, which is why if you look at this, you have all these heads in there. You would think it'd be a little more evenly distributed. If you ever flip a coin 20 times, you'll see long strings of heads and tails in there. But the next one's still got a 50-50 chance of being whatever. At the airtight security company, you get a badge. It's got 2 letters, 2 numbers. First one can't be O, so how many different codes can be made? Well, when you do probability for things like this, phone numbers, things like that, you just multiply up all the choices for each spot. So you got 2 letters. You have 25 choices for the first letter because you can't have the letter O. Second one, you can have whatever you want, 26. Then you got 10 digits for the last 2, and a lot of people mistakenly believe that's only 9 digits. It's 9, 1 through 9 plus the number 0. So that's it. You multiply all that up, and that's your answer. And they did not multiply it out. They just set it up the way it looks in probability. Length of a rectangle, number 22. Length of a rectangle is 6 inches longer than its width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 48 inches. What's the width? Well, whenever I see this, I immediately write it like this. Length is the width plus 6, and perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width. We know that equals 48, so we can plug it in and do some math here. And the width equals 9. Number 23, what's the slope in the graph below? I like this problem. I love graphing problems. I always recommend drawing a graph. I like it because it says, oh, the grid line is spaced over half unit. Like that matters. Just find, here's a point that are on the grid. And the change in y is 2. And the change in x is 3. That's the slope. And it's positive, so you don't have to worry about any negatives. Done. Doesn't matter that they're only half a unit. Goes up 2 for every 3 it goes over. You'll find another point up here. Goes up 4 for every 6 it goes over. Same thing, 2/3. 24 on the figure below. Got all these lines, the intersect point Z, and you get your angles. What is CZE? So what's this one here? I find this funny. The 24 is extraneous information. This is 180. So this is 180 minus 52, which is 128. Done. 25, parallelogram, cut from a piece of graph paper with squares 5 by 5. So let's figure out how many squares are in there. You can actually sit down and count them, but it's 4 high. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wide. So there's an area of 44 squares. Each square is 5 by 5, which gives us 44 times 25, which I believe is 1100. "26, flight of a projectile is a nice little quadratic. And it says d represents the distance above the ground and t is the time of the flight. One's going to hit the ground. So, in other words, when d equals 0, what's t? And you can solve this. You can use quadratic formula, you can factor it. But really for this one, since it's kind of complicated, I'm just going to plug things in and see which one works. I've already done this problem, so I would go through each one, especially 1 and 2 are pretty easy. But I'm going to guess that we're going to get -5 times 4.4 squared plus 18 times 4.4 plus 8 is probably going to equal 0, and actually that's wrong. Just blasted it out on my calculator. Let's try this. We get 16 times 5, that's negative 80, plus 72 plus 8, that's 0, so it is 4. So this one was wrong. And I know you think I'm never supposed to make mistakes when I make these videos, but I like making mistakes. Show you it's no big deal. 27, triangle with these vertices. What's the area? Well, area is 1/2 base times height. And the base is just this distance across, because this is a right angle. And that goes from -2 to 1, so it's 3. And the height is this distance. That goes from 1 to -3, so it's 4. So it's 12 divided by 2 is 6. 28's a little bit of what we call general algebra. And again, they throw those negatives in just to see if you're paying attention. Negative -3a to the third squared. I'll keep the negative and square everything else. -3 squared is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. Rules of exponents. And we get F. Percentage problem, what we call pre-algebra problem. 120 is 5/12 of what number? 5/12 times x equals 120. X equals 120 times 12 over 5. X equals, I was going to pull out the calculator, but I think I'll do this. 24, which is 288, I believe. Gives us E. Number 30, B is any even integer, which of the following is a more simplified way to express this. I find this interesting. When we divide, we flip and multiply, and when in doubt, I factor. It's a little rational equations, ratio, fractional equations. Cancel, 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 cancel. And they said it's an even integer, because if it was 3, it could be undefined. If it was an odd integer, 3 minus 3 is 0, we'd have 0 on the bottom of the fraction. Can't have that, so that's 1. What a weird little problem. Number 31, among the following 5 fractions, which one is greater than the rest? This is -0.5, this is -0.75. Which one's greater? Well, think about it on a number line. Which one's further to the right? So this one is, so B is smaller. C is smaller. 9/16 is smaller. This one is actually greater. If you put it in as a decimal, you'll get whatever, but I just know it's not 16/32, so it's over here somewhere. It's the one furthest to the right on the number line. Number 32. Oops. If 4/3 x is greater than -1, what's the set of all possible values? In other words, solve this thing, please. Multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. X is greater than -3/4. Number 33, one of our dance studio wants to double the area of a rectangular dance floor. Well, 8 times 10 is the area, 80, so we need to get to 160. 8 foot's increased by 2 feet, so that'll be 10 times, oh no, call it x. X equals 16. Now here's the question. This is a great question. We're getting later in the game here. It's problem 33. Read the full question. How many feet must the length increase? So it was 10 feet because the 8 feet was moved up, so the 10 foot became 16, so we increase it by 6 feet. Nice little tricky problem. And I actually like those problems. They make you think. Okay, know what you're doing. Tangent theta, which is opposite over adjacent, equals 2 root 77, then sine of theta equals, tangent is 2, opposite over adjacent is root 77. Root 77 squared plus 2 squared equals 77 plus 4 equals 81. So x is 9. So sine is opposite 2 over 9. Done. Because sine is opposite over hypotenuse. "35. What's the slope of a line parallel? Parallel means the slopes are the same. So which one is a slope of negative 1/2? B. "36. Good little problem. Formula A equals P times 1 plus RT. A is principal. A is principal plus interest. P is principal. R is interest rate. T is time. Solve for R. I'm going to distribute, which I might not need to. So I'm going to try this, see where it takes me. Solving for R, so divide by PT. That's a minus. So R equals A minus P over PT. Yeah, look at that. Number 37. Tanya and Charles brought their brother Jerome a concert ticket for his birthday. I love this one. When Jerome thanked Charles for the ticket, Charles said, "I contribute only half." Found a mistake in the thing here. "As much as Tanya. If the ticket price was 24, how much money did Tanya contribute?" Tanya contributed X. Charles contributed half of X. And they got him 24. 3 halves, X equals 24. X equals 16. Let's think about it. Tanya gave 16, Charles gave 8. 8 and 16 is 24. And he gave 1/2. So, don't forget to read the question. How much did Tanya contribute? Well, Charles gave the less amount, she gave the greater amount, so 16. Which of the following is the solution set for the inequality? Well, gotta do it twice. First one's easy, just act like nothing, no absolute value ever bothered us. X is greater than 6. Second one, everything flips. Negative x1 is greater than 5. As in, if the answer was negative, we would take the positive of it. However, when we divide by -1, we flip the sign, which always causes problems. Add 1 to both sides, -4. So x is greater than 6, or x is less than -4. And that happens to be the first one, and I think we could have gotten it from x is greater than 6, because there's no more here that are greater than 6. So you could have even stopped there. 39. Saying that 4 is less than radical x is less than 9 is equivalent to saying, what about x? This one kind of got me. Got to square everything, each piece. 16 is less than x is less than 81, because I started going with this one, which of course is wrong. So 16 is less than x is less than 81. Throw some numbers in, make sure you're happy with it. Let's try 25 for x. 4 is less than square root of 25, which is 5. 4 is less than 5, which is less than 9. It works. That's part 2. Good luck.